So first of all, I want to talk a little bit about Bloom's taxonomy. And Bloom's taxonomy is really simple. I use Bloom's taxonomy to really help me focus on what it is that I want my students to learn and how I want to kind of move them through the learning process using Bloom's taxonomy. And so I'll talk about Bloom's, and I'm sure you've seen it, but I think this becomes a critical method for teaching and learning using technology as the tool. And when we talk about technology, we also have to understand that technology is about tools, and that a pencil is a piece of technology. Paper is a piece of technology. A whiteboard is a piece of technology. A blackboard and chalk are pieces of technology that we use for teaching and learning. And so, if we're talking about these electronic tools, they are no different in terms of looking at the pedagogy, the approaches of teaching that need to occur for these tools, these pieces of technology, to be used accurately and efficiently. So you may find it interesting that I'm using a blackboard or a chalkboard to kind of demonstrate a lecture on technology. But this is no less or more technology than the iPads or the iPhones or the e-readers or whatnot. So these are, when we talk about technologies, what we're talking about are basically tools that allow us to be effective in the classroom. And so Bloom's taxonomy is very simple. What Bloom talks about is the fact that there's a pyramid approach to learning, and that the base of the pyramid is obviously wide because you need a good foundation, so forth and so on. And as you move up this pyramid, the focus becomes more narrow and more specific to what it is, what your aims are. And ultimately, what Bloom suggests is that for teachers, we want our students to, at the end of whatever process we're participating in, be able to evaluate what is the best decision, the best resource for whatever it is, whatever the goal is that they have for themselves or for their families or for their employers. So we want people who can make good decisions ultimately, so they can evaluate what is a good decision based on all the criteria given to them. And so if we start at the base of this pyramid, what Bloom talks about is the fact that knowledge has to be the foundation by which people start to build towards this evaluation. And so what that starts to look like is basic knowledge of a subject or a thing. So can students recite back to me? Can they give me the facts? 1492? That's right, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, supposedly, right? So there's that. 1776. Right? The Declaration of Independence, right? 1964, the Civil Rights Act. That is basic knowledge. So I don't need any more complexity to that. Being able to spell words is basic knowledge kinds of things. How do those letters line up together to create a word? So when he talks about knowledge, what he's talking about are what are the basics that a person will need to be able to recite back to me as a teacher. What am I looking for as a teacher? So we have that. The next part is comparison. So how can I contrast? Can I make some Venn diagrams to show the similarities and the differences between different things? And so that becomes important. Can I have some comparisons? Can I understand? Can I comprehend what's happening? What is one's comprehension of these facts, of this knowledge? And so when we talk about knowledge, I guess a simple way to talk about that is facts. Right? When we talk about this idea of comprehension, so there's a difference. I have a niece who can count, and she can count to 30. But she does not comprehend the concept of 2. So she has the facts, she knows how to count, but if I if I put two objects in front of her and asked her how many of those objects are there, her comprehension isn't at that level, right? And so, if I'm not mistaken, I think she's just under 2, so about 16 months, maybe 18 months. So she has knowledge. She can say her ABCs, but she cannot read, right? So that's the difference. So comprehension is, does the student understand? And how do I know, how do I tease that out as a teacher? Well, one of the things that I might want to do is ask people to act out what they know. Tell me what it is that they know. I may want to ask them for examples of how this is used, right? So, and we'll break some of those questioning parts down in just a second. And then next is application. And application simply is, how do you use the knowledge and the comprehension that you have in a different situation? So how do you apply it in different situations? So for example, the word there. There are different spellings of that word given different contexts of the word. And I guess if we want to talk about knowledge being facts, maybe we should say that comprehension is about context. Right? So knowledge is about facts, comprehension is about context. Do you understand the right ways to use the word there? When is it about a person, right? When is it about a place or a thing? Or when is it about they are, right? When do you use that word there? The application of that becomes important. And I guess we can talk about application as being a change in context. So when the context changes, how do you apply that? So knowledge is about facts. Comprehension is about context. You understand everything that goes along with that. Application is a change in context. And then analysis is the fourth level of Bloom's taxonomy. And basically what he's suggesting is that people need to be able to critically analyze the change in context and what facts need to be added, taken away, be critical about that analysis. So we start getting into this higher form, which I would like to say is more than likely the descriptor of the what. What is it that is the critical piece of information that I need to know to make this decision? Synthesis is being able to take all of those pieces of information. Synthesis is taking all of those pieces of information and trying to come up with some solutions, trying to see what things pair together well, what things work together well, and which pieces don't. And then finally, evaluation is saying, ultimately, what's good and bad for me? Is this a good decision? Is this a bad decision? The synthesis says that I've added up all these things and I've made a decision that this is right for me in terms of what my goals are. And so Bloom's taxonomy, having these 6 stages, provides for us a framework by which we can start teaching. And so what I would then suggest is that there are 3 areas in which we can look at Bloom's taxonomy as an effective way of teaching and learning. And we should be able to break those down into these simple questions. What? So what? Now what? And if we look at each one of these areas and we ask those 3 questions, what? So what? Now what? I want you to pay attention to, there's a part in your lesson that is the question and task design wheel. And it's broken up into these 6 sections, and it talks about the what, the so what, and the now what. So I want you to pay attention to that. It's a PDF that's in your lesson. But in each one of these, we can ask those 3 questions. In terms of knowledge, what is it that I want my students to know? In terms of knowledge, so what does that mean? What is the meaning of that? And then lastly, so what do I want my students to do with this knowledge? And if we look at all of Bloom's taxonomy, we really can break it into these three questions: what, so what, and now what. But as a teacher, I would encourage you that whenever you're using technology as a part of a project, or you're asking your students to produce something, that you really look at those three questions: what, so what, now what, in each of these areas. Because there are typically times when you may want your students to do a couple of these things at the same time. Bloom suggests that this is a building, but I would say as we apply this in our classrooms, that we can jump around with a number of these things, because different standards, different activities are going to require us to look at different methods of teaching and learning. And so I think this Bloom's taxonomy is extremely important. So there's that, and we'll catch you in the next video.